Hello, my friend. Welcome to this podcast on the Daily English Podcast channel.
Thanks so much for having me back. I'm really excited for today's deep dive.
Yeah, me too. So usually, when we look at a map, there's this expectation of objective reality, right? You point to a dot on the paper, and that's a city. You point to a blue squiggly line, and the map says, basically, there it is, that's a river.
Right, it's just this fixed binary information.
Exactly. But when you step into the world of human memory, and specifically like the incredibly volatile world of childhood memory, that objective map is just completely useless.
Oh, totally. It goes right out the window.
Right. Suddenly, we're looking at a landscape that is drawn entirely by our emotions. It's this phenomenon where a tiny, insignificant patch of dirt under a backyard tree is emotionally the size of an entire continent.
Yeah, and the actual literal continent you lived on barely registers in your mind at all.
Exactly. And today, we are charting that exact map. We're taking you, the listener, on a journey into this universal shared topography of youth. Our mission for this deep dive is to explore the incredibly potent experience of childhood memories, nostalgia, and that really complicated transition into adulthood.
Which is something literally everyone goes through.
Right. But we're pulling these insights from a really unexpected place today. We aren't analyzing 6 psychology textbooks or anything.
No, far from it. We are actually dissecting a fascinating stack of transcripts from English language learning dialogues.
Yeah, which initially sounds kind of dry, right?
Yeah.
But the main source we're looking at today is actually this simple, A1 to A2 level conversation between 2 characters named Mark and Sarah.
Right, it's designed for beginners.
Exactly. It's a basic dialogue where Mark and Sarah are just talking about their childhood memories of winter and summer.
And to teach a person how to speak effectively, the creators of these programs realized they had to connect the vocabulary to raw, universal human emotion.
Yeah, they have to give the learner words for the profound things they already feel in their bones. So hidden inside these really simple grammar lessons are these deeply relatable human stories.
Tales of growing up, playing outside, overcoming early fears, and learning the exact vocabulary you need to talk about your past.
It's brilliant. I mean, it proves that the architecture of human memory is shared across cultures. I am continually fascinated by that. You read these accounts and you see that it absolutely doesn't matter where someone grew up.
No, not at all. You could be raised in a chaotic, noisy city with millions of strangers.
Or like an isolated, quiet country town where everyone knows your name. But the core sensations are identical. The desire for freedom, the thrill of a snow day, the taste of a favorite childhood food.
We all basically survive the exact same psychological childhood, just, acting it out in front of different backdrops.
That is so true. The scenery changes, but the script is the same. And the way we access that script later in life is, it's almost never voluntary.
It's intensely biological.
Right. I want to push on that because reading these accounts of nostalgia, you realize it is almost entirely sensory. Nostalgia isn't some high-level intellectual exercise where you sit down and say, I will now accurately recall being 8 years old.
Oh, no! It's an ambush!
Yes. You don't summon the memory. The memory hijacks you through a smell or a sound.
It's a total hijacking of the nervous system. Our brains are these evolutionary machines wired to prioritize sensory input. Smell, sight, sound.
Because that used to mean survival, right?
Exactly. But in a safe, modern environment, those sensory receptors become emotional tripwires. The texts we're looking at use the word nostalgia with profound accuracy. It's not just a happy memory.
Right. The sources define it as this warm, affectionate feeling that has a little bit of sadness mixed in.
Because that time is gone forever.
Yeah. And that bittersweet nature is perfectly captured in the sensory tripwires. Take smell, for instance. There's this staggering moment in one dialogue where someone discusses the smell of old books.
Just dust and degrading paper, basically.
Right. But the second that scent hits their nose, there is zero conscious effort. They're instantaneously, violently transported back to their grandmother's living room.
The neurology behind that is staggering, actually. The olfactory bulb, which processes smells, has a direct, unfiltered superhighway to the amygdala and the hippocampus.
And those handle emotion and memory, right?
Exactly. When you see or hear something, the signal gets filtered. But smell, it bypasses the logical brain entirely. It's a direct injection of the past.
Which completely validates another example from the material, the scent of fresh wood and the sound of hammering. The speaker says when they encounter that, boom, the timeline collapses. They're back in their childhood backyard building a treehouse.
Or the scent of fresh pine needles.
Oh, totally. And then there's the absolute heavyweight of memory, triggers chocolate chip cookies baking in the oven. The butter and sugar caramelizing. You aren't a 30-year-old adult anymore. You're 7 years old, waiting for the timer to go off.
The physical environment just vanishes. But it isn't just smells. Auditory triggers are huge, too. One account brings up a very specific pop song.
Oh yeah. Call me maybe.
Right, it's like a perfectly preserved emotional fossil.
It really is. The speaker describes how hearing those specific chords immediately brings back their middle school friends. The sensation of memorizing lyrics just so they wouldn't forget to call each other.
The song is no longer a piece of commercial music. It's a proprietary key to their personal history.
We see similar visual triggers too. Another person sees a beagle puppy on the sidewalk and instantly remembers a childhood pet named Lucky that they got for their 8th birthday.
It paints this picture of human memory as a really complex time machine.
But the control panel makes no logical sense. The activation button isn't a date on a calendar, it's arbitrary. It's the smell of rain on hot pavement or a dog's ear.
Yeah, you can't just punch in June 1998.
Right. So I have to ask, are we just walking around waiting for our senses to accidentally hijack our brains?
That's the fundamental tension of memory. We have explicit memory, where you actively recall a math formula. But deep emotional memories, yes, they are highly susceptible to involuntary sensory detonation.
So we don't remember the big events as well as the random stuff.
You might forget the exact date of your graduation, but you will never forget the smell of the cafeteria floor wax.
Because the floor wax was the actual texture of your daily reality.
Precisely. And this sensory hijacking almost always drops us into the physical spaces where we grew up, which leads us to the geography of play.
The physical environment dictated the rules of childhood. And there's this sharp contrast in the sources between growing up in a bustling city versus a quiet small town. Let's start with the country.
There's an inherent expansiveness to the small-town childhood. Safe streets, few cars.
Yeah, kids looking out a bedroom window and seeing mountains, riding bikes freely to the library or a friend's house, and tree climbing is a huge motif.
Right. Kids scaling these massive trees, physically elevating themselves above the adult world.
While simultaneously, the accounts note that their mothers are standing on the ground, completely terrified they're going to fall.
The mother experiences pure dread, and the child experiences pure transcendence.
Exactly. And the games require massive space. Hide and seek isn't in a living room. It's counting to 10, running, and finding a secret place behind a massive tree or under a patio table.
The country child manages a landscape of abundance. But if we pivot to the city, the environment demands a completely different skill set.
The big city is constrained by concrete, traffic, and noise. But there's always something happening. You aren't scaling ancient oak trees.
But what's inspiring is that the kids don't care. The instinct to play overrides the lack of resources.
Totally. They play soccer right there in the street, and if they don't have a real ball, they use a plastic bottle or an old tin can.
It highlights the spectacular resilience of the childhood mind. They don't need expensive toys.
An old can becomes a World Cup soccer ball. Or taking tape on the living room floor and turning it into a complex highway system for a red toy race car.
It's the cognitive ability to project a massive internal world onto a restrictive external reality.
I always say childhood imagination is the ultimate virtual reality headset. You take old blankets and chairs, and to an adult, it's a mess. But to the kid, it's an impenetrable fort.
Oh, absolutely. A sovereign castle.
But looking at these two environments, do kids in cities develop different types of imaginations than kids in the country because of those constraints?
That's a perceptive distinction. Resourcefulness is usually bred from constraint. The urban child who hallucinates a leather soccer ball from a plastic bottle is exercising a different muscle than a kid running across an actual field.
So the city kid hallucinates the space, and the country kid hallucinates the plot.
Essentially, yes. But the underlying drive to play is identical.
And whether you're running through a city park or a country field, the ultimate backdrop is the changing of the seasons. Which brings us back to Mark and Sarah.
The two most powerful childhood eras, winter and summer.
Right. And in this dialogue, Mark and Sarah vividly describe the distinct magic of a winter snow day versus summer vacation. Let's dive into winter first.
The psychology of the snow day is universally intoxicating.
Oh, completely. The sensory details are perfect. Waking up to a completely silent world covered in a thick white blanket of powdery snow, and the pure joy of finding out school is closed.
It's the ultimate unearned reprieve, a suspension of adult rules.
The weather defeated the adults. But then comes the grueling preparation. The dialogue hilariously details taking 20 minutes just to put on winter gear,
Jackets, hats, gloves, it's a whole ordeal.
and then building the classic snowman in the front yard. Mark specifically talks about using a carrot for the nose, rocks for the eyes, an old hat and scarf, and naming him Frosty.
It's a shared cultural mythology, but it's also about control. You're building a companion out of the elements.
And then the snowball fights, getting freezing cold and retreating inside to sit on the porch steps, drinking warm hot chocolate with marshmallows.
It's a highly localized micro-experience. Now, contrast that with Sarah's memories of summer.
Yeah, summer's a completely different universe. It's 3 months of absolute freedom. No school, no homework,
The memories are drenched in warmth and expansion.
visiting cousins in another town for 2 weeks, catching insects, building tree houses with old wood and nails, feeling like kings and queens of the forest.
Notice the shift from enclosed winter layers to vast exploration.
Exactly. Driving 3 hours to the ocean. Sarah talks about going to the beach, swimming in the cold water all day, and building massive sand castles with tall towers.
And watching the water wash them away, only to build them again.
And the lake picnics. Sandwiches, fruit, cookies, lemonade. So, analytically, what's the psychological difference here?
Summer is about expansion and boundless time. Days bleed into weeks. The winter snow day is a sudden, unexpected disruption of routine that creates a cozy micro-universe.
Right, scarcity is the value. A surprise snow day is like finding extra money in your winter coat pocket. It's magical. But does the sheer length of summer make it blur together while a single snow day is remembered forever?
Exactly. The brain ignores the predictable and records anomalies. Summer becomes a generalized emotional aura, but the snow day is a distinct narrative event.
And both of these eras are eventually interrupted by the major milestones of growing up.
The transitions from the safety of home to the wider world.
Let's look at the first day of school. The universal nervousness. Crying and holding a mother's hand tightly.
The terrifying scale of the building.
And hearing that loud school bell for the first time, it's a brutal signal that playtime is over. I compare it to an adult moving to a foreign country where they don't know the language.
It requires a massive leap of courage.
But then, the relief. Meeting a kind teacher, like Miss Sarah, and making a first best friend on the playground, like Danny, after scraping a knee.
That's the acquisition of social independence, followed closely by physical independence, the bicycle.
Getting a bright red or blue bike for your birthday. Silver stripes, streamers on the handles.
It's a literal hero's journey in miniature.
The physics of it make no sense to a kid. A grandfather holding the bike on a quiet street for a week, saying, just look ahead. And then you finally pedal alone for 20 seconds.
The bicycle is essentially a child's first car. It represents the physical manifestation of independence. You can leave the house without an adult.
But expanding your boundaries is exhausting. So when the scary outside world becomes too much, we retreat to our safe spaces.
Anchored by family and food?
Culinary anchors. Grandmother's homemade chocolate chip cookies on a Sunday, standing on a chair to help mix the dough, the house smelling like love.
Food is the physical delivery mechanism for safety.
Or a father cooking 15 pancakes on Saturday morning with butter and syrup. No TV, no rushing.
Rituals provide predictability, which equals safety.
Friday pizza night. Store-bought dough, extra cheese, watching a movie. But how does this connect to us now?
The text connects this to adult coping mechanisms. We use the word anchor, something that makes you feel steady when life gets difficult.
Right, returning home after a draining day, taking off your shoes to feel barefoot peace, putting on soft clothes, lighting a warm lamp to make the room cozy.
A phone call to a relative, or morning coffee, serves the same purpose as those pancakes.
But do we spend our entire adult lives just trying to recreate the safety of our grandmother's cookies? Our adult comfort zones, just echoes of childhood?
In many ways, yes. We have to become the architects of our own sanctuaries now.
And that desire for safety clashes with the grand dreams we had as kids.
The carefree imagination of youth collides with the heavy reality of adulthood.
The English Leap source really dives into this. As kids, we want to be astronauts, detectives, race car drivers. We are wonderfully carefree.
But as adults, life gets crowded. The text uses a striking metaphor. Responsibilities stack up like boxes in front of a window, blocking the light of our original dreams.
I love that imagery. The window is the dream, but there are 50 boxes labeled rent and car payments in front of it. And the main ingredient of those boxes, fear of failure or apprehension.
Apprehension makes us play it safe. We avoid discomfort and follow a practical path.
The quiet sadness of realizing you're living a life shaped by society's expectations. The text calls it fear in a very respectable outfit.
It's a dangerous thing to let that fear hijack your life.
But I want to push back.
Right.
Can you be highly practical, pay your taxes, buy the boring minivan, but still keep your inner child alive? Work toward the dream slowly.
Absolutely. The goal is to shift a few boxes aside so you have a line of sight to the window. The dream can evolve. The kid who wanted to be a princess just wants a life that feels peaceful and sovereign.
You retain the energetic essence of the dream. Now, to properly understand this journey, we need the right language.
As promised, let's break down the specific vocabulary used in these sources, especially the A1-A2 dialogue between Mark and Sarah.
First up, nostalgic. It's that warm, affectionate, but slightly sad feeling about a past that is gone.
Exactly. Next is carefree, having no worries or responsibilities. The ultimate feeling of being a kid.
And then used to, like my mother used to read to me. It's a grammatical tool for past habits.
It signifies a comforting routine that defined an era. We also use phrases like takes me back or throwback when a memory is triggered.
This song really takes me back. We also talked about the word anchor, something that keeps you steady in rough waters.
And finally, the adult words. Overwhelmed, drained, cluttered, the feelings we try to cure with our comfort zones.
Learning English isn't just about passing a test. It's about having the right word, like nostalgic, to share the story of your grandma's cookies with a stranger and have them perfectly understand the emotion.
It bridges the gap between basic communication and deep human connection.
But we've covered a lot today. From the sensory triggers of old books, to Mark and Sarah building snowmen with carrot noses, to the struggle of keeping our childhood dreams alive. Remember that whether you grew up in a noisy city or a quiet country town, your memories are the anchors that keep you steady today.
And I'll leave you with this final thought. If your 8-year-old self could see you right now navigating adulthood, will they recognize the parts of you that are still the same? What is one thing you do today purely to make your inner child happy?
Keep the window to your childhood dreams clear. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.